Have you ever stopped to think that maybe at this very moment God is testing you, and the worst part is you haven't even realized it yet? Do you know that feeling when everything is at a standstill, when your prayers seem to have no answer, when doors keep closing one after another without explanation? It might feel like abandonment. It might feel like punishment. But what if I told you it's exactly the opposite? Today you will discover God's hidden test, 6 signs that your life is about to change forever. And it's not just any change. It's that profound transformation, the kind that Jesus revealed 2,000 years ago, but that most people still don't see. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to show you can completely change the way you see your difficulties. And more, it will make you understand the divine purpose hidden behind every pain, every loss, every silence. Ready? Then take a deep breath, because this journey begins now. There's something unsettling about silence, especially when it's God who seems to be silent. You pray, but nothing happens. You cry out, but the sky seems made of bronze. You search for answers, but all you find is emptiness. And then that gnawing doubt begins. Has God abandoned me? Did I do something wrong? The truth is, most people interpret this silence as absence, but it isn't. When everything in your life is at a standstill, when nothing makes sense, when you feel stuck in the same place for months or even years, that's not a coincidence, it's preparation. God is not absent. He's working behind the scenes, shaping something your eyes cannot yet see. Think about it. Before a great change, there is always a great stillness. I know it's hard to accept this when you're in the midst of chaos, when the bills don't add up, when the relationship is hanging by a thread, when your health fails, when your dreams seem to have died. But it's precisely in those moments that God's test begins. Only it's not the kind of test you imagine. It's not to see if you're strong enough. It's to reveal who you really are when everything falls apart. Do you know what's most impressive? Most people give up precisely at that point, in the silence, in the waiting, in the not yet. They interpret the delay as denial and leave before the answer arrives. But those who remain, they discover that God was simply waiting for the right moment, the moment when you would be ready to receive what He always wanted to give you. And if you're experiencing this silence right now, pay attention. Because what comes next might be the answer you've been waiting for. Every trial carries something hidden, a purpose that you only see afterward. Let me tell you a story. There was a man, let's call him Daniel. He was dedicated, hardworking, faithful. He woke up early every day to seek God, served in the church and helped those in need. But suddenly, everything began to crumble. He lost the job he loved. His marriage fell apart. His children drifted away. And worst of all, he didn't understand why. For months, Daniel lived in the desert of confusion. He prayed, fasted, cried out, but nothing changed. The people around him began to whisper, "Did he do something wrong? Is God punishing him?" And Daniel, deep down, also began to believe it. Guilt knocked at the door. Shame followed soon after. But what Daniel didn't know, and what no one knew, was that God was removing everything that had become an idol in his life. The job he loved more than his own family, the pride disguised as religious service, the need for approval that made him live for others, not for God. It was a spiritual surgery. Painful, yes, but necessary. One day, at the height of his pain, Daniel fell to his knees and said something that changed everything. "Lord, I don't understand what you're doing, but if this is necessary to transform me, then do it." And it was in that moment of total surrender that the purpose began to reveal itself. Because when God wants to change your life, He first confronts you with what needs to die within you. Spiritual trials aren't about what you lose, they're about who you become. And that's something Daniel only understood months later, when he looked back and saw that each loss had paved the way for a much greater restoration. God wasn't against him, He was fighting for him. But hold on, because there's more. And the next sign will make you question everything you thought you knew about God's plans. Have you ever clung to something that God was trying to take from your hand? It's heartbreaking. You fight, you resist, you plead, "Lord, don't take this away from me." And God, with the patience of a father, continues to close that door, slowly but firmly, because he knows that what's on the other side of that door isn't for you. It's not for your good. And if you keep insisting, you'll lose something much greater that he has already prepared. The problem is that we always think we know what's best for us. That job, that relationship, that opportunity. Lord, it was everything I wanted. But God doesn't work with what you want. He works with what you need. And often what you need is an ending, a painful but liberating closure. Think of the people of Israel in Egypt. 400 years of slavery. Generations were born and died without knowing freedom. And even so, when Moses appeared to free them, many resisted. At least in Egypt, we had guaranteed food. They preferred the security of prison to the uncertainty of the promise. And do you know what God's answer was? He closed the door of Egypt, literally, with 10 devastating plagues. Because sometimes God needs to destroy what binds you to lead you to what sets you free. And that always begins with a closed door. It could be the end of a relationship that consumed you. It could be the loss of a job that defined you. It could be the separation from people who drained your energy. Does it hurt? Yes, it hurts. But it's protection. Jesus taught this directly. If your eye causes you to stumble, pluck it out. Matthew 18:9. He wasn't speaking literally, of course, but the principle is clear. Sometimes removal is the cure. Sometimes God needs to forcefully close a door because you would never have the courage to walk out on your own. And the most amazing thing, when you stop fighting against what God is closing off, that's when He opens something you never even imagined existed. If there's one thing nobody likes, it's waiting. We live in an era of instant answers, quick deliveries, immediate results. But God works in His own time. And sometimes His time seems like an eternity. It is in this desert of waiting that faith is truly tested, because it's easy to believe when things are going well. It's difficult to trust when nothing is moving. Have you ever been through this? That period when it feels like God has turned off His phone? You pray, but you feel nothing. You read the Bible, but the words seem empty. You go to church, but you come home with the same weight. It's as if God has disappeared. But He hasn't disappeared. He's there, quiet, watching, waiting to see what you're going to do. The desert is not punishment, it is a school. It was in the desert that Moses learned to hear the voice of God. It was in the desert that the people of Israel were fed with manna from heaven. It was in the desert that Jesus was strengthened before beginning His ministry. The desert is not the end of the journey, it is the training for it. But I know it's difficult. When you're there alone, in absolute silence, the last thing you want to hear is, "This too shall pass." Because it doesn't feel like it will pass. It feels like you'll be there forever. And it's precisely this fear that God wants to confront. Because if you don't learn to trust Him when everything is still, how will you trust Him when everything starts to move? By the way, before we continue, let me ask you something. If this video is making sense to you, please subscribe to the channel and leave a like. That way I know you're following along and I can continue bringing you content like this. It's quick, and it helps me a lot. Thanks. Now come back with me, because what comes next is heavy. It's the moment when everything falls apart completely. There's a saying that goes, "Before the miracle comes, the chaos." And it's no lie, because God doesn't build on rotten structures. He tears everything down first. And when He starts tearing things down, my friend, it feels like the whole of hell has risen up against you. Everything goes wrong at once. It's not just one thing, it's several, one after the other. And you're left there, amidst the rubble, thinking, "What did I do to deserve this?" But calm down, breathe, because this isn't punishment, it's preparation. God is clearing the ground to build something new. And before the new comes, the old needs to go away, completely. Look at the example of Job. In a single day, he lost everything: his children, his possessions, his health, and the worst part, he had done nothing wrong. It wasn't because of sin. It wasn't because of a lack of faith. It was because God was about to elevate Job to a level he had never experienced before. But for that to happen, everything Job relied on had to be removed, because God wanted Job to rely only on him. When everything falls apart, what remains is what's essential. And often, what's essential is just you and God. No distractions, no emotional crutches, no escape plans. It's just you, him, and the decision to trust or give up. And you know what's crazy? Most people give up right here. When everything is falling apart, when it seems like there's no turning back, they look at the chaos and say, God has abandoned me. But no, God never abandons. He only removes what prevents you from achieving what he has prepared. So if you're going through this right now, if it feels like everything in your life is falling apart, stop, breathe, and understand. God is preparing you for something bigger, much bigger. Now comes the hardest part, the confrontation with yourself. Because up until now, you may have blamed circumstances, people, the devil, luck. But there comes a point when God holds up a mirror to you, and then there's no escaping it. You need to look inside, and what you see isn't always pretty. This is God's true test. It's not about what happens around you. It's about what happens inside you. God isn't testing your circumstances. He's testing your heart, because it's in the heart that true faith resides. It's there that real trust lives, and it's there that God works. Do you know what Jesus said? For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Matthew 6:21. He wasn't just talking about money. He was talking about priorities, about what really matters to you. And when God begins to remove things from your life, he reveals where your heart truly was. And often the answer hurts. You discover that you trusted your job more than you trusted God, that you depended more on people's approval than on his voice, that you relied more on your own strength than on divine provision, and that's uncomfortable, because it means you need to change on the inside. But that's exactly where spiritual transformation happens. When you stop looking outward and start looking inward, when you stop asking God to change your circumstances and start asking him to change you. Because the truth is this: God isn't testing you to fail you. He's testing you to purify you, like gold in the fire. Proverbs 17:3 says, "The crucible is for silver and the furnace for gold, but the Lord tests the hearts." And the process is painful, yes, but the result is unwavering faith. And when you pass through that inner mirror, something changes. You begin to hear a voice that was previously muffled. There's something strange about pain. It has a way of making us pay attention. When everything is going well, we get distracted easily. We run here, we run there, we occupy our minds with 1,000 things. But when pain arrives, everything stops. And in the forced silence of pain, you begin to hear things that previously went unnoticed, especially the voice of God. It's not that God only speaks in times of pain. He speaks all the time, but we only listen in times of pain, because that's when we finally stop talking and start listening. And that's when the hidden divine message is revealed. That thing God has been trying to tell you for months, but you were too busy to listen. Remember Job. After losing everything, being questioned by his friends, and experiencing indescribable pain, he had an encounter with God. And do you know what Job said? "I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but now my eye sees you." Job 42:5. He knew about God, but it was in pain that he truly knew God. And that's what happens to us too. Pain has a way of transforming knowledge into experience, theory into reality. You stop just knowing that God is a provider, and you start experiencing his provision. You stop just believing that God is faithful, and you start witnessing his faithfulness. God's will is not pain itself, but often it is through pain that he is able to reach us. because pain breaks down the barriers we build. It tears down the masks, it removes pride, and it leaves you naked before Him, vulnerable, but also open. And when you are open, God speaks, not necessarily with an audible voice, but with an inner certainty that you can't explain. A peace in the midst of the storm, a hope in the midst of chaos, a conviction that, however strange it may seem, everything will be all right. Because God never wastes pain. He always transforms it into purpose, and then something inexplicable begins to happen. Little things, details you barely notice at first. A chance encounter that changes everything, an opportunity that arises out of nowhere. A person who appears exactly when you need them most, and you're left there thinking, was that a coincidence, or was it God? It wasn't a coincidence. It was God. Because when He decides to move, things start to fall into place in a way that defies all logic. Doors that had been closed for years open overnight. Relationships that seemed lost are restored. Opportunities you weren't even looking for appear before you. And then you understand, everything you lost wasn't a loss. It was preparation. That relationship that ended made room for the right one. That job you lost led you to the career you were truly meant to pursue. That pain that almost destroyed you molded you for the mission God always had for you. It's like putting together a jigsaw puzzle. At first, you only see loose pieces. It doesn't make any sense. But when you start putting the pieces together, the image appears. And it's beautiful, more beautiful than you imagined, because God always works beyond our imagination. Romans 8:28 says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love Him, who have been called according to His purpose." All things. Not just the good things, not just the things that make sense, all things, including those that broke you, including those that made you cry, including those that made you doubt. God was aligning everything, all the time. You just couldn't see it yet. And when you finally see it, everything changes. Now comes the truth that changes everything. God's test was never about what you lost. It was about who you became while you were losing, because God doesn't care about what you have. He cares about who you are. And often what you have is preventing you from becoming who He planned you to be. Think about it. If God had given you everything you asked for, would you still seek Him? If God had answered all your prayers exactly as you wanted, would you still trust Him, or would you only trust in the results? That's the point. God doesn't want you to trust in the results. He wants you to trust in Him, not in the blessings, in Him, not in what He gives, in who He is. And to reach that level of faith, you need to go through the fire. And fire doesn't destroy, it purifies. It removes impurities. It burns away what is false and leaves only what is true. A faith that is independent of circumstances, a trust that doesn't waver in the face of difficulties, a love that doesn't grow cold when things get tough. Jesus said something powerful. If anyone would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Matthew 16:24. Denying oneself. It's not about losing things. It's about dying to oneself, to the ego, to one's plans, to one's desires, and living for Him. And when you do that, when you finally let go of everything and say, "Thy will be done, not mine," that's when God moves heaven and earth for you. Because now you're aligned with His purpose, and His purpose is always greater, always better, always more complete than anything you could imagine. The test was never about what you lost. It was about what you gained in the process. And what you gained was growth through trials, spiritual transformation, and unwavering faith. Now we arrive at the heart of it all, at the teaching that Jesus made clear, but which most ignore. Jesus didn't promise an easy life. He promised a life with purpose. He didn't say you would never face trials. He said trials would strengthen you. John 16:33. In this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Trials don't come to destroy you. They come to purify you. James 1:2-4 makes this crystal clear. Consider it pure joy whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. Did you read that? The testing of your faith produces perseverance, and perseverance leads you to spiritual maturity. Without trials, there is no growth. Without tests, there is no approval. That's how it works. It's not cruelty. It's love, because God loves you too much to leave you the way you are. He wants to take you further, higher, deeper, and for that, He needs to remove everything that holds you back, everything that limits you, everything that prevents you from flying. Jesus demonstrated this in His own life. Before beginning His ministry, He went into the desert for 40 days. He fasted, He was tempted, He passed the test. And only after that, filled with the Holy Spirit, did He begin to perform miracles, to teach with authority, to transform lives. The desert was not a detour, it was the path. And the same goes for you. What you're going through right now isn't a deviation from God's plan. It is God's plan. And when you understand that, everything changes. You stop fighting against trials and start learning from them. You stop asking, why me, and start asking, for what purpose? Because every trial has a purpose, and that purpose is to transform you into the person God has always seen in you. And then you arrive on the other side, not the same way you came in, not with the same doubts, the same fears, the same limitations. You arrive transformed, renewed, strengthened. And when you look back at everything you've been through, you no longer see destruction, you see construction. Every tear you shed watered a seed. Every pain you endured strengthened a root. Every loss you faced made room for something new to grow. And now you are no longer the same person. You are someone who has passed through the fire and emerged purified. And you know what's most beautiful? Your story becomes a testimony, not only for you, but for the people around you. Because when they see you standing tall after everything you've been through, they see something greater than you. They see God's faithfulness. You become living proof that God does not abandon, that He fulfills His promises, that His hidden tests always end in victory for those who persevere. And that changes lives, not only yours, but the lives of everyone who crosses your path. So if you're in the middle of the test right now, hold on tight. Don't give up. Don't surrender, because the change you've been waiting for has already begun. You just haven't seen the final result yet, but it's coming. And when it does, it will be bigger, more beautiful, more complete than you ever imagined. Because God has a purpose. He always has. And that purpose is revealed exactly when you least expect it, but need it most. So, were you able to identify any of these signs in your life? Look, I know it's not easy going through all this. I know there are days when you just want to give up. But before you do that, remember one thing. God didn't bring you this far to abandon you halfway. He didn't begin a work in you to leave it incomplete. So stop, breathe, and reflect. What is God trying to teach you right now? What is the hidden purpose behind your trial? Because when you find the answer, everything starts to make sense. Leave a comment below telling me which of these 6 signs you're experiencing right now. Tell me about your experience. I read all the comments, and maybe your story can inspire someone else going through the same thing. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next videos, and share this content with someone who needs to hear it today. It could be that friend, that family member, someone from your church, because the message of hope and spiritual transformation needs to reach more hearts. Remember, God's test is never meant to destroy you. It's meant to rebuild you. And when He finishes His work in you, your life will be a living testament to His faithfulness. So don't give up. Trust and wait, because the change has already begun. And may the truth that Jesus revealed, that every trial has a divine purpose, continue to resonate in your heart today, tomorrow, and always. Stay in peace, and until the next video,